Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. Today in this video, we're going to look at one of my mini Phalaenopsis orchid. This one really is nothing special except this one I've had for almost 4 years, and I think in the beginning it was put into an experiment that didn't go too well, and then I had repotted it into the current container and the current media that you see, and it took this orchid, I think, almost 4 years maybe to rebloom. So when I first bought it, obviously it had flower. In fact, I think this orchid was one of the first quote-unquote twins that I have purchased ever. So it was 2 individual plants come in the same pot for the price of 1. And I think it was early on in my very early channel history, one of the first few videos I did, and then I was talking about doing some experiment to these 2 orchids, and I think I might have put these 2 orchids in water culture, and one of them didn't make it, and then this one had some issues with water culture. Of course, at that time I didn't really know 100% how this orchid would react to water culture, but for the sake of experiment, I put it in water anyway. It didn't do well, so I decided that I'm gonna have to stop the experiment and repot this orchid into the current container that you see. And because of poor root system, I also had to use like a wire clip to stabilize it. And then time just went by quickly, and before you know it, actually no, it took a long time, not just before you know it. It took it quite a few years before it bounced back to what we see. Toward the end of February 2020, it started to put out a new spike, and gosh, it was a long time coming. Yeah, in fact, I just remember that it was a white phal, but I did not have any good memory of what this orchid actually looks like exactly. I just remember it was white, something white. But another thing I noticed about this orchid, which I didn't know, or at least didn't detect, was its fragrance. Yes, this one is fragrant. And remember, I also have this orchid that's hung in a cup, and it was a rescue that I got from a botanical garden in New York. So that one, when I first purchased it, it was not fragrant, and then for the subsequent bloom cycles, it all produced fragrant flowers. In fact, I think I am yet to do a video on that orchid, which reminds me I should spend some time on that. So I compared the photos of this orchid and that cup mount orchid, and I think they are the same type of orchid. I mean, at least I couldn't tell the difference from the photos, and then they all have the blooms, the white, and the same size-ish. So anyway, just want to give you that extra information in case you mistake this orchid to be the cup mount orchid that I have. They're different, but I think they're the same type of orchid, and they all share the same smell, which is sweet but very powdery. So I would even describe, because you know how some orchids, they are fragrant with citrusy smell. This one is not citrusy at all. It's just really powdery sweet fragrance. I don't know how to describe it. A friend of mine was trying to say, well, does it smell like makeup powder smell, sweetness? And I was like, I don't know, but probably close to that. So there you go, it's fragrant. Now this orchid at some point was having a lot of healthy roots, and because I wanted to save space, but it was not time for me to repot, because I was pretty adamant that I want to grow this orchid until it flowers before I would repot this orchid. So that's what I did. And in order at that time for me to save some room for my horizontal space, for more horizontal space, I decided that I want to bend some of the aerial roots and try to put it into the outer cup. And it was doing fine, but then obviously as time went on, some roots started to show signs of decay, but I guess that's normal. But thankfully, it continued to produce more roots and more leaves to eventually flower, so I know that this orchid was definitely on the right track. And after the bloom, I will definitely seriously think about repotting this orchid because I think it's way overdue. And here is just a video clip of what this orchid looked like at that time. In fact, some of the earlier blooms had already faded, fallen off, but here it was just the sort of second half of its blooms. And the one that you're seeing here, there is one flower that's missing a lip, and then the bottom sepals are they're kind of stuck together. They grew together. So it's kind of interesting looking right there. I have had 2 other orchids this year in my collection where not all flowers bloom out or grow to be what other flowers look like, and I don't really know if that's just like a slight genetic mutation for the particular flower, or maybe nutrients had something to do with it that may have caused that. I don't know. And to me, it's not as important. For some people who are, very scientific, they may want to find out exactly why. But for me, the fact that they bloom and it's looking great, I think a plant is a plant, and I'm quite happy with its performance already. I mean, yes, it did take this orchid, maybe three plus years to rebloom for me. But, I can blame it because it wasn't having the best root system to begin with. And the fact that I was able to save this orchid and have the patience, I think that's a major factor. Sometimes I think, we give up on orchids. Sometimes we lose patience and we just kind of let it be. And and at some point, to be honest with you, I was giving it the same care as I did with other orchids, but I just kind of said to myself, if you bloom, you bloom. If you don't, you don't. And I didn't give it special care, thinking that would actually help. So I think that actually did this orchid some good. Just normal care, persistence, and yay! Finally, now I remember what this orchid looked like. Its flower is actually quite nice. Anyway, overall, I'm happy with this orchid, the fact that it rebloomed. Yes, it's been a long time, but I'm just happy that I get to see its flowers again. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!